Sunil, thank you very much for being here. A pleasure to be with you today. We're just talking before the cameras go on. That you always in contact with foreign investors. You understand a lot of things that's going on here in the market, and asking why India nowadays becoming less and less relevant because it's quite obvious why India. But what other questions the foreign investors are asking you or should be asking you, and what's the way for them to understand the market and penetrate the market?
Yeah, I think foreign investors are actually quite focused on few things. The most important is the risk adjusted returns. Those returns can only come in with seamless execution. And while you do execute the projects and the opportunity, I think most important is how much disclosure, transparency, governance, and sustainable are those investment opportunities. These are the broad categories of investors because they all know India is and India will be the world's growth engine. India is going to grow at 7% as we are growing today, between 7 and 8% for next decade. Hence, the Indian real estate would have an opportunity in residential, mixed use, commercial, SEZs, data centers, warehousing, and so on and so forth. So, investors are now wanting to see how people have developed the skill set to access this opportunity and create returns for the investors. Because I think it's very important that their experience of investing and finally generating a return for their shareholders or their investors in a meaningful manner is the most important. And I think that's where we need to showcase case studies of this decade, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. What is the big differences happening? And some of the big differences is one is the regulatory framework around real estate. So it is the goods and services tax GST actually is a big change happened to Indian real estate. And second part is the Real Estate Regulatory Act, which actually empowered the investors to ensure they have a recourse on their investments by ensuring that their investment is time bound, their investment is actually they can actually take the developer for the lapses or a delay get compensated, and hence the developers are becoming cautious. So regulatory regime, GST regime, and the most important is that Indian real estate developers, at least a dozen developer are listed now. So those are a good proxy to understand what is that kind of disclosure they are doing, what kind of margins they are making, what kind of cost they are incurring to deliver these residential homes in Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, so on and so forth. So I think more and more data, more and more disclosures, and more information coming to the investors to make choices. So information, data, the regulatory regime, and the direct and indirect taxes simplification, correct, is actually a big shift from what Indian real estate was a decade back today.
Another change that I noticed, I have been coming to India since 2010, is the level of dependency to foreign capital. Back in 2010
Yes.
was a high dependency. Nowadays, I look at the domestic market, there's so much capital here, which is, in one hand, very good for foreign investors, which means they can have liquidity and they can exit, like Blackstone did a few times, and are back here, Brookfield and CPPIB, etc. But at the same time, that means that they need to really work harder to get the right deals here because there is competition. How do you see this?
So absolutely, very well highlighted a point that the dependence of Indian real estate, those days were largely on FDI money. The foreign direct investors who are coming, investing for a long only projects, which are typically going to take 7 to 10 years, and then to create an exit uh, was a very difficult time. So look, take an example of REITs or InvITs. These are the investments which are balance sheet investments, and they need to be investors need to be seeing the liquidity at some point of time. Now, the new framework of listing of REITs and InvITs has changed the whole paradigm. So today we have a office REIT, we have retail REIT, soon we'll have a data center REIT. We have today the infrastructure REITs, the whole road projects, the gas pipeline REITs. So suddenly the variety of instrument which got created for Indian investors and global investors, which is like a debt instruments, regular income instruments through listing, and which has got a tax efficient mechanism for the investors. So that is one part of the story. Second part of the story is that domestically, we all know that India, the fixed capital formation happens through real estate the most. Today, it is still 40%. So if you have to just see the total savings of Indian real estate, 50% of the money is still in real estate. And people are moving away from physical real estate to the financial savings. And financial savings can be into a private equity, real estate. It could be credit, real estate. Underline could be real estate, but it's a financial instrument where it has got a right entry and right exit by selecting the right manager who can manage their money. So local ultra HNI, then family office capital is becoming a formidable force who is actually creating these credit instruments, high yield credit instruments for the Indian real estate. And their dependence is getting reduced from banks, from NBFCs, and even foreign capital. So I think this whole ecosystem is very interesting because today Indian real estate do not have as many speculators. More so, you can find in Indian real estate, residential real estate specifically, a lot of end users are there. And even to that matter, office buildings are all end user driven. So basically, there are a lot many GCCs are coming into India. There are a lot many banks, global banks are creating their the KPOs in Indian context. So they are the large occupiers of Indian real estate. So what is happening is that dependence of uh, foreign capital to that extent has actually reduced, and the big force is the domestic capital, which has typically 5 to 7 year patience, is actually in the hands of managers to create a structured solution to the project so that the cash flow of the project is being taken care. And the most important is the execution. That execution generate the free cash flow, and that's where the sustainable returns are generated out of the real estate, and that experience is actually getting them back to investing, and that's the cycle which is going to continue.
Fantastic. I have just came from. I just visited New York recently, and one of my meetings was with uh, a large institutional investor active in India. I don't want to name it, but one of the things that he said to me is that he was very pleased to see how the level of corruption have reduced in the country. They have been active here for almost 15 years, or more than 15 years. And he said to me, look, when we started back there, it was challenging. We need to be very careful. But nowadays, with the technology, with everything that happened, is much easier, and there's much more a legal framework. The government are making things more serious. Do you also get the same feedback from other international?
Yeah, so global investors really were always worried about the governance in Indian real estate. Post the demonetization, the acceleration of the digitization has happened. Digital records, digital payments actually become the way of life, and hence you get to see lot of formal economy than the informal economy, lot of organized economy than unorganized economy. Larger you are, transparent you are, governed you are, you get more excitement of capital, and people support you because they get the confidence of their returns. So clearly in Indian context, because of digitization, because of the regulatory overlay of regulatory act like RERA, regulatory act like RERA, the GST has actually created multiple ways and forced the developer to be more transparent and more governed. No question in our mind that this journey continues, and my sense is that it's not a day far away where you will find even more superior confidence of the governance of the sector, which probably will reduce the cost of capital, because every investor is actually putting a premium to the governance, premium to the execution, premium to the country risk, correct? And that, if has to come down, you need to be more governed.
Yes, correct. A final question. You have been with the GRI in and out for a few years. I want to hear your feedback on how you see the organization here in the country, and what else could we do to make sure that we fulfill our mission to be the gateway of global investors to the region.
But GRI is doing fantastic work in India, has done a great work a decade back. I think it's a knowledge platform. It's a thought process of Indian real estate uh, get get accumulated at one place, diversified views, equitable opportunity for everyone get discussed. I think we need a platform where all the stakeholders participate and create a force which actually works in a constructive manner for the growth of the industry, be it government, be it developers, be it private equity, be it domestic investors, be it global investors, or be it customers. So I think GRI has always taken that lead, and I am personally been witnessed with GRI's initiatives all along. And I think getting some of the global investors to India to experience this whole change is, I think, only GRI can do it. And look forward for that kind of opportunity across there.
Sunil, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.